updating us with Diggs and his ankle and Elliott and some of the other guys who were limited yesterday?
Yeah, Trayvon will be he'll be limited today. We'll go, we'll see if we can maybe get him into the individual. Would be the most we'll probably do today. And Zeke is, he practiced. He took his limited reps yesterday.
KZ, he's on the court too, haven't him?
Yeah, absolutely. He will probably be in the rehab group today.
Was it something that happened at the start of practice? Because he was out there.
Yes, something that he was feeling on Monday after some work on Monday, and then when he started out practice, it flared up.
Diggs is more of a management issue. There's not a great concern about his ability.
Not of high concern, based off of the ankle he sustained in the game.
Is it weird talking to us while we're looking at our phones, tweeting what you're saying?
Say it again.
Is it weird staying up there while we're just staring at our phones?
It took a while to get used to, but I don't take things personal, so it's just another insult from the media. Kidding. So.
COVID list remains the same as well.
Yes,
too.
absolutely. Yep.
We talked to you quite a bit we asked you about matchups with other players, but in matchups with coaches, with someone like Belichick, who has such a long history of targeting what an offense does and taking it away, do you spend more time in that, or can you spend too much time and outthink yourself? Can you just talk about it going against someone who has a long history of doing something?
Well, I think it's an excellent point, and I think you can do both. You can spend too much time trying to focus on how they're going to adjust and what they're how they're going to play as far as how they're where they're going to tilt the coverage and particularly the matchups up front all the way through. So really our process is the same the way it's been for my whole head coaching career. I mean we start on the opponent on Mondays, just with our players. So we've had a chance to do the overview. Clearly the type of game we're going to get ready to play, and a lot of individual focus by the players. I think they're doing a good job staying on top of their own personal self, Scott. And Wednesday, Thursday is install day, so we'll put it in the red zone, backed up, short yards, goal line, and all that today, and we'll get it. And then at the end of the week, we need to really focus on how we're going to play the games, because at the end of the day, they're the opponent, and it's an excellent opponent, and they do a great job of testing you schematically, their offense and their ability to play downhill football, favorable down and distance. There's going to be some level of deceptive in the game. You're going to see that on a certain level, and and I think the way they challenge you defensively. So it's football. They're going to. They create for a great challenge. I think playing up there later in the day, and we're looking forward to this opportunity.
Every NFL offense, I'm sure, does cut blocking, including your guys' on occasion. The Patriots do it more, including with their offensive linemen. How has it been this week so far preparing for that, and what are your views about cut blocking?
Cut blocking is a variation of blocking. It's still part of the game. Obviously it's limited to inside the tight end area, and we know the new rules and so forth. So you prepare for it, and I think it's also a product of that when you watch their offense, they have more two-back offense scheme, so which has a tendency to can bring that on more, as far as the schemes that they're running. So it's just like every other week, you look at the specifics of how they play blocks, how they attempt to block, and to me it's all part of the fundamental challenge.
As a defensive lineman, I know you're not one, but do you guys kind of hate that when, even though it is part of the game, but someone diving at your knees doesn't sound especially fun?
Once again, the way you present it is one thing. I think it is part of the game. There's a place for it. It's when you're trying to gain leverage, whether we're lined up in an overload front, and whether they're trying to cut the defensive front in half, but it's all part of the planning. So. Particularly when you don't have great angles on the backside, it's definitely a technique and an option that's effective.
Dan Quinn had a helmet on and was working on it with him. What did you think of that? And have you seen a coach do that before?
Yeah, well, it's been a few decades since I've personally done it, but he actually showed it to me last night when we were, in his office. So I think it's awesome. I just think it tells you, Dan's approach, and frankly, it's a smart thing to do when you get in there with particularly the D linemen. So no, I think it's great.
How did he grade out?
Yeah, we don't grade the players or the coaches in public. So yeah.
Do you have a personal coaching philosophy about injured starters getting their job back when they are healthy?
Yeah, I think, like anything, a lot of this is there's circumstances to any personnel decision. I think you have to be open and honest about that. So I don't have a cut and dry, policy. I've worked in situations where there were, and it's gone both ways. So I think like anything, when you make decisions involving personal situations, I think you have to look at the scope of the big picture, and that'll be our approach.
When it comes to a veteran guy, do you try to talk to him if you're going to replace him with someone else? Is that more of a delicate situation because he is a veteran?
Yeah, definitely. Veterans definitely deserve and have earned a different level of respect. Absolutely. I think that's, part of the culture that, how we feel we go about our business. But at the end of the day, I think you have to, stay in tune with the big picture. It's a long year. It's, you look at the roster development and changes that we've had just in this short season so far. So, and that's, I think we have to keep that all in perspective. I know we are, as far as how you make those decisions.
Are you able to do anything with the players next week?
Are you able? Well, there's some limitations and so forth. Yeah, so we're going to work Monday with the players.
What's the history of your state program in terms of when did it start, and how can you detail maybe how it's evolved since then in terms of how it's different today than it was when it first began?
You mean when did it start for how we implemented it into our season or off season?
Something that you did in Green Bay, and so just from
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It started I think back in 2014, if I remember correctly, the year. Something that was researched for a couple of years. Frankly, personally, I wasn't comfortable doing it. We were having success as a team, and the schedule that I was on is something I was very comfortable with, and felt like our guys did a really good job with it. But I think you have to be really honest and open with everything you do, and I know after every season, through the exit interviews, how can we evolve? The offense has got to evolve, the defense has got to evolve. Are we getting the players every possible resource that they need to be successful on and off the field? So that was really the root of the conversation, and how was it developed. I give Mark Lavatt, the strength coach in Green Bay, a ton of credit because he did the big bulk of the research and was a huge proponent of it. And frankly, once I got comfortable with it, and we made the change, and and you trust your veteran players, different than our player council does a really good job communicating. You trust their feedback, and guys have been extremely positive about how they feel going into the game, actually the game day. So, the schedule that was here before was something that I was familiar with. I grew up with that schedule, with Marty Schottenheimer in the 90s, and a little bit. And Jim Hazlitt took it a different variation of it. So, I just think like anything, the longer you do this, you got to stay open to potential change. That's the best thing for your team. And I clearly am a huge believer in the schedule and a huge believer in the state program because I've seen the results. I've seen the results, with this fatigue injuries being reduced. We have a vision to be a champion, and and I think you're planning for the later parts of the season. They don't start when it doesn't start when you get there. You have to implement that now. So simple as spent some time before I walked in here and on the field. It's been raining all morning, and just want to do everything we can to get out there on the grass. So that's physical, mental, and emotional stress is additive. So you try to do the best you can for your players, and I think practicing on grass is an important part of that.
The mental conditioning component that is today part of the state program with Chad.
Yes.
In 2014, when you first adopted it, did mental conditioning exist as part of that, or did it exist?
No,
later?
we didn't have it on staff. It was something that we broke up between player engagement and strength conditioning. So it was facilitated more through those avenues. We had a director of research and development that was that also handled some of those responsibilities. So it was spread out amongst the staff the way we implemented it there. But I love the way we do it with Chad's involvement, because it's messaging is important. He's got a tremendous background, and he has a very strong connection with our players.
The toughest part about that, maybe with you and the players, is we're going to practice in a sense on Saturday, the day before the game, versus that Friday.
Oh, definitely. It's I know we've talked about it before here. I mean, it's something that's been going on in track and field since the Greek Olympics. You can look it up. So it's on the internet. So I'm told, but it's it's something that's been part of track and field, and particularly the players that were that have track and field in their backgrounds. They love it. They're used to it. They identified with it right away. I think your bigger guys had to kind of go, let me feel this out first. But you're free to talk to our players about it. They believe in it, and it always helps when you're winning games. But I definitely feel it's the way to go.
Mike, when you think about the self-scout that y'all were doing after 4 games, what's the main differences in both the process and the results of an intentional self-scout like that versus the day-to-day self-scout that you're always doing?
Well, the reality of it is the self-scout is really not any different, because it is, the ability to have it week to week. It's more about the time you're able to commit to it. To commit a 30-minute meeting after week 1 or 2 is probably not as beneficial than it would be after 4 or 5. Because it's just like anything. We all have tendencies. Everybody has a fastball, curveball, and you got to have a changeup. So that's something that our guys do a really good job of staying in touch with. And you don't get to throw as many pitches in the first 2 games as you would after a 4-game series. So there's the volume part of it is part of that self-scout evaluation. But our ability as coaches, it's a weekly process. It doesn't change. Like, we don't wait to the bye week and go, okay, hey, we're gonna have a big self-scout week. That's done every, that's what Monday nights are about for us as a staff. It's just do you have the time to utilize the information and have more application into your training is, I think, why. I know I do, but I think it's why coaches probably make a bigger deal out of it after 4 weeks or when there is a bye week and you have more time to utilize it.
What's that balance when you're talking to players, not just about what they can get better at, but not tipping opponents off with their tendencies of wanting to eliminate those, but not getting them so in their heads?
I think the biggest thing is, every place is different, every program's different. I'm a huge believer in you can't watch enough video, and if you get to a point where you think you need to watch more, make sure you watch yourself. And I think our players do a tremendous job of it. I think the professional athletes in today's professional sports do a tremendous job of. No one knows their body better than they do. And I think you just look at the training and the way these guys come into the league out of college, what they're exposed to compared to 20 years ago. So it's just a constant reminder to make sure that they know themselves and what they put on film and know what the other guy's watching. So and that's important, and it'll help them a couple plays a game. I believe that.
I know Chad, much of his messaging is designed to cater to players, or he's trying to instill whatever messaging he has for them. But as a coach, have you been able to pick up on any of the things that he said and apply it to yourself? Has anything that he said been personally of use to you?
Well, Chad's messaging is in line with the whole program's messaging. It's all tied together. So we're all coaches, players, support staff. We all have the benefit of learning from his education level. His ability to communicate and articulate the message of the week, in his opportunity with the players. Yeah, so it's not just I'm helping the players deal. I mean, it's coordinated. He does a tremendous job. You know, Roxanne in our video department does a tremendous job. So all those things are coordinated.
Given the weather's changing here, going to a colder place this weekend, you got a bye week, then the following week go to Minnesota, even though it's indoor. How much do you talk to your guys or have the medical staff say, hey, let's be a little bit careful now?
Love it. No, I love it. That's why we want to get outside today in the mist. I mean, this will be great. Smells like football, you know. Love AT&T Stadium, you know, but it's, you know, playing on the grass it's fun. I'm really looking forward to going to New England.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.